Derrick Dukart. We're located west of Manning, North Dakota, which is 20 miles north of Dickinson. What we're looking at, this was a rural water system. So we're working with Southwest Water. This was what they called a pasture tap at one time. Primarily this was just a summer usage. We just had a galvanized water tank here at one time up until early 2000s. We wanted to use this particular pasture more for either spring use, late April time frame into late fall, September, October, and wanted a water source that we could use without having to, since we have no power close by, we wanted to use it for, have more uses for it. So we decided to put in a 1,250 gallon insulated fiberglass water tank with using geothermal heat. We have a 12-inch insulated tube, I should say, coming up from the ground. And then we also, this one has a regular standard yard hydrant coming up through the center of that pipe. And then we just go over the top and use a standard float for the controlling the water level. We want the capacity in case something happens. If the water goes down, if they have a leak or something, we at least have 1,250 gallons of water that we can use. And if we use it for summer usage, we also have the capacity for that. For some of the EQIP programs that are out there, you got to have at least 1,200 gallons of storage. Again, it goes back to the number of head that we're using or drinking on it during the winter and weather conditions outside. Prior to that, we were using some tire tanks. We had to put propane in them to keep them open during the winter. And we still use some of those depending on where we're at in our grazing system. But most of our cows will spend, for the last probably 7-8 years, are spending the year, they don't spend a day in the winter, in the main yard, I should say, or main ranch, only during calving. So from the time we wean in that mid-November range through April, they're out grazing, and these are the tanks that we're using, which basically a lot of those places we never had tanks, so our landowners allowed us to put tanks in or help pay for the tanks or the setup. So that allowed us to expand our grazing for the winter, either stockpiled range or using cover crops or crop residue, corn stalks, sunflower stalks, depending on the year, depending on the rotation. And we took all of our manure that was accumulated in our traditional system of the cows being in the yard for the winter, and we moved that all out to our fields or our pastures. First step would be to, how many head do you want to utilize for that tank? Probably more importantly is the type of water source that you're pulling off of. Is it a well? Is it rural water? Like this rural water system, where it's capped at 5 gallons a minute. Their water requirements change. If you feed more, they require more water during the winter than they do in the summer. And that's just from paying the water bill versus summer versus fall or winter, and you can see the difference of what they consume. But they have some drawbacks also. Same with these, they have drawbacks. Everything has a drawback. If I could change it for winter, I'd probably make it a smaller tank. But since we want to maybe use this for a fall use or late summer, we want to have that, and we got a lot of head drinking out of it, we want more capacity. We're using what we have, and if it's a well or if it's rural water, everybody thinks that rural water is expensive. It's the best tool that we probably could put on the place. It's allowed us to put water where we've never put water before, or we could never drill a well. Drilling wells are expensive. I call this cheap water, and it's good water.